back to the channel. Mein Name ist Viggy. Und ich mache Live-Reviews. Mostly of Yiddish. Before we to the antique video, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. It helps me and the channel out tremendously, so thank you for that. And if you will support the channel, one of the ways is you can werden a member. By hitting the join button. Es geht ein langer, riesiger Weg. You know it. They will support the channel, kannst du schicken a quickpay zu viggivibes@gmail. Oder a superchat. Alles helft. Jede Pistol. Alright, let's get into it. Penny G. Good evening to you as well. How are you? How was your day? So we warten a paar Minuten. Man is al watching. The 15-year-old gambled away $190,000. His parents had no clue. The reason ich will this reviewen is weil Zwieglik der Founder von Amudam. Und ich meine, als Amudam tut gute Sachen. Bin ich sicher. Meaning like, ich weiß nicht anything negativ. So. Es will helfen Menschen, bin ich hin. Hey, get it. Hello and welcome. How was your day? Gang 98. Hello and welcome. How was your day? Wie ist gewähnt der Tag? Still at work. Oi wei. Bin ich jetzt in der busy season, Vater? Sorry, Penny. Live unscripted. Hey. How you doing? Hello and welcome. Getting ready. Nice. Oh, you mean you're getting ready for the season? Wollte Renster noch the season. Wenn es ist still. Wenn alles wird bezahlt, alle Bills. So, Nachi Gordo sits down with Zwieglik, the founder of Amudam. One of the most important and raw episodes we have ever released, from drug use and gambling in our schools to secrets hidden behind closed doors. The real stories of crisis, denial, healing, and hope. Zwi pulls back the curtain on what's really happening in our community. Ich weiß, dass Zwi ist involved schon for years. Wenn ich sage, ich kenne Zwi, meine ich sagen ist, ich habe schon gehört von ihm. Eine Weile zurück, so. Philogger has a lot of guts willing to take on the establishment. Einer was hört so viel Pain wie sie Sein Tate ist schon gewesen involved in der Sachen. Sein Tate ist schon gewesen a größer integral part in the Yiddish community, as much as I understand. And this can't help them. They saw 29,000 views, November 29. Something about December 1st. So, by the way, as I hoping you do, and you don't mind hitting the like button, so geht ein langer, riesiger Weg. Sie sucht für der Elgo, und die hast es lieben, sie schicken für andere Menschen, die es watchen, wie dir. As I sollen, as I do their channel. The Maroon Item 7 Infinite Minute 705. We'll make it a very short live because ich habe a gig in the free shows. I'm sehr grateful for my Chaver, for mir geben them opportunity to him them gig. Don't know if I'll be able to make a live in the morning. Don't know if I'll be home already. But hey, at least we have you guys here now. They are a bisschen status at those who gave my video. Finish shoot zurück mit 4,500 views. Ein Mensch mit Talent, ein Mensch mit Gein. Ari Samet allein. But I don't know if we're gonna watch it tonight. Ich will watchen this. Weil ich weiß, dass Zwieg liegt dit als Sache auf. Meaning, this is my impression. By the way, ich habe gesehen, so do a Yiddish website, was nimmt darauf Content von YouTube und liked es darauf bei sich. Und ich habe es bekommen von einem, als darauf genommen, der Podcast für mir, die Schmies für mir, und es geliked auf die eine Website. Stickel Chitzpah, I tell you. So yeah, very interesting, their website. So steht, ich habe 760 views. Das heißt, AHDLICK live. Geherig, nimmt erop. Das heißt, ein Stückchen Ganaiva. Damit besimcha. Hello and welcome. He lost weight? Yes. Kiktos much better. Kiktos healthier. BH Shimon Schnellberg's episode is doing amazing. Yes. De man mag a sag van man Rosh Hashiva Shmalka Leifer. But yeah, it's wirklich hot verloren Volk. Verloren a bunch weight. Which they indicate health. You know what I mean? Alright. Okay, jetzt gehen wir durchhalten. Für meaningful people. Zwieglich hat sich herumgesetzt. Ich weiß nicht, wo es geliked the title. A 15-year-old gambled away $190,000. His parents had no clue. Jetzt als ein kleines Dorf meine ich, dass nicht aim. Er meinte, man geht rennen von ihm. Okay. So hat 29,622 views as of now. November 29, 2 days ago. So I guess again, an interesting episode. Let's get into it.
They'll be like, oh, in our school you don't have drugs. But every time they do.
Hold on a second. Darf mir da weg finden honestly, the beginning ones.
Subscribe to our channel right now. It's making sure that you get our content, what you like. So go ahead, hit that button because so many of you think you're subscribed, but you're not actually subscribed. One other thing that you need to be subscribed to is Meaningful Minute Plus. It is sponsored by Shui Wine. It's called the Wine Series. You have an opportunity to even be there. It's not just meaningful people. Plus, right now, you know, the culture is a night that you.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. A lot has happened since we last spoke. A lot has happened. I read an article recently. It's actually, I think you wrote in 2022 about marijuana usage in the frum world. I think a lot of parents who are watching would be like,
Picture Shot Studio. Koiden, hello and welcome. Ich bin nicht echt upset, als het is genommen. Ich bin upset, als man nimmt es unfragen und das, weil like dort Ads und macht Geld. Ich lege an Arbeit in dem. Das geschieht nicht damals so. Ich tue es nicht für Geld, but der Geld kommt. Something, you know, share something, do something, frag mich. Nicht just like es darauf. Es ist mein Content, es sind meine Sachen. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just saying. It's not Yiddish behavior. Let's put it that way.
Surprise, or maybe not surprise. How common is that?
Just jump right into it.
What, you want me to?
No, I like it. No,
should we talk about
this
how
is
your
good.
ride was here? You sound proud.
No, the ride was great. No, I like that.
Yeah.
Jumping right into it. So yeah, the marijuana usage. Part of what.
Tamid besimcha. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you.
At that time period, especially, we were doing a very big focus on it, is because as things were getting legalized in various states, you know, people have to know the difference between legal and good for you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Just because something's legal doesn't mean it's good.
Right.
And one of the examples I've used, which I've heard Rabbi Dr. Abraham Tursky, Zechron Levracha, say was, alcohol is not good for you, but it's legal. People forget why.
Die ganze Sache, the law, the LAW, the law, meint nicht gut nicht. Meint nicht dein Health, meint nicht gut nicht. Sache, was ist ja legal, meint nicht geht. Sache, was ist illegal, meint nicht, was nicht geht für der.
It became legal because to stop murder. Right, with
Interesting.
Prohibition. But yeah, marijuana usage, I mean, you know, marijuana usage is high up, but all types of drugs. I mean, because youth are getting into everything. It's
I feel wie sein mic system is nicht do so up to par, but okay.
Is that something that you think parents don't really, they won't believe how prevalent it is?
I don't think the parents believe it. I know for sure the yeshivas and school systems don't believe it.
Do you have an example of that? Like, you went to yeshiva. Do you speak to yeshivas about?
I speak to yeshivas all the time, and if not me, my staff. But we do events very regularly, and they'll be like, "Oh, in our school, you don't have to worry about A, B, and C. You know, we don't have drugs here. You know, some kids smoke, some of them vape, but there's no drugs." And then I'll do a little test project, which usually means I'm not welcome back again in that yeshiva.
What's that test project?
I'll ask all the staff to leave. And when the staff is gone, I'll turn around, you know, raise hands, close eyes, let's start talking, and I'll start discussing topics that are very clear that in order to respond to me, you're going to be, you know about drugs, about, and by the time I'm done, I go to the principal or the Rosh Hashiva and I'm like, listen, you have a lot bigger issues here than you thought. But it's not too late. We can address it. And, you know, people don't want to hear that. You know, people want to live in denial.
Jeder einer meint, dass in seinem Platz ist alles kusher wie usher. Probleme nicht bei uns. Probleme nur bei der Zweiten.
One of the things I always, you know, I did this with somebody. I've actually said this story and I've done it a few times, but one story comes to mind. I was sitting for dinner with somebody, with one of my donors, and he invited his granddaughter. We were in Israel, and he invited his granddaughter who was in seminary. And he says, listen, Tzvi, whatever you do, don't be Tzvi Gluck during this dinner. My granddaughter is very, you know, she's very good. She's well-natured. She's a student. She doesn't know about these things.
And he is the top seller.
And of course, that tells me I got to come up with something to prove him wrong, right?
Yes.
Halfway through the dinner, I turned to her and I'm like, listen, I have a very, very hard time sleeping on a plane. Do you have anybody that can get me sleeping pills? Maybe someone in your dorm or something. And she's like, yeah, of course. Just which one? And then she looks at her grandfather, goes, no, I meant.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, stop. The cat's out of the bag. Now you'll say to me, okay, big deal. It's a sleeping pill, but it's not, because to the next
Ey, als ein Mensch weiß nicht wegen Sleep Pills, meaning, weiß nicht davon, aber man kann es kaufen, man kann es bekommen in der Dorm. Was noch schickt man darin?
I'll say to somebody, I can't focus, can you get me an Adderall? Yeah, sure, what do you...
They're controlled substances.
And everything is available. And when you think it's not, that's when you get into trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of what Amudim has been doing, and you being the founder, over the years, you've kind of shifted, it seems, from my perspective, of like reactive to preventive, right? Are you trying to?
We're trying to,
Sie nehmen Menschen, die sagen, die hast ein Problem in deiner School, meint es, als die bist nicht gewähnt geht, as a leader in der School. Und wer geht das Mäude an? It takes a real person.
Our community loves fires. Firefighting is something. And by the way, it's what kept us going. So we have to look at the Jewish community and go through history, starting from antiquities, and say, you know what? Okay, so that was important, because we are firefighters is why they're still Jews today, right? Every other group has disappeared off the face of the earth.
I mean, we love crisis.
We live for crisis.
And we only act once there's crisis.
And that's one of the things that we'd love to change. Yes, responding to crisis is important. But at the end of the day, if we can prevent the crisis, we'll be doing a lot more. I'm not going to say we shifted. I'm going to say we added. So, listen, our PSA videos were all, they're amazing. I have to say the videos we've put out have been off the charts.
Yeah.
And even when we do our events, even when we do our Narcan trainings, right? We're one of the largest trainers of Narcan and distributors of Narcan in New York City. We don't just do a Narcan training event. We will always make it an awareness event. We want people to understand, learn, be educated.
Education is sehr gut. Education ist eine von den preventive measures. Aber man weiß nicht, man darf nehmen Prevention. Wie soll man wissen? Von wie soll man wissen andere Sachen? Was followed after?
The example I use is that many years ago, I got a call from a certain yeshiva telling me that their students, there was an ISP that if one person had a username and password, multiple students, could log into the same account. And this specific one wasn't filterable by the tag filter.
Okay.
Somebody had told them that I knew the chief legal counsel for that company. So they reached out to me saying, can you speak to the chief legal counsel, maybe connect them with tag, something to get the filter? And I said, it'd be my pleasure, but I have to ask you a question. When tag comes into the school and you put filters on the phones, do they explain in your school why and what the danger?
Hershey Green. Hello and welcome. Holiday question guide.
Dangers are and what all the issues are? Or is it just that the rule of the school is you need to have a filter?
Wow, what a deep question. Man sucht, die Misthuben a Filter in dort endigt sich es. Man sucht für jedem einen, für wo die das a Filter. Und ich schreie schon das for a while, als fighting against a smartphone sei nicht der richtige Weg zu tun. Because wenn einer geht durchbrechen, geht schon hoben a Smartphone, geht nicht kein anderer Muscle zu stoppen anywhere, weil hat schon das Smartphone, ist schon durchgefallen. Rather, wie man so sagen, miss ich kein Smartphone, aber sie do dangerous Sachen auf Smartphones und auch sie do gute Sachen auf Smartphones. You know what I mean?
Filter, so we have a filter. And they said, no, it's the rule of the school. I said, okay, then I'm not going to.
Oh, nice, Hershey. Wie was when?
I'll help you. When you're ready to educate the students, come back to me. And then I threw a curveball and I said to this Manal, I said, I'm just curious, what's the number one issue that you can see with a teenage boy in yeshiva having unfiltered internet on their phone? And of course, he responds to me with
porn.
I imagine looking at inappropriate content.
Exactly. Pornography, inappropriate content, right?
You don't think that's the answer?
It's definitely a problem. I wouldn't say it's the problem.
Okay.
Children getting addicted to the internet from gaming, meeting people online that you don't know who they are.
Yep.
So you have risks of abuse, bad behaviors, not being able to sleep or function because you're playing games 24/7, not being able to go to school. Yes.
By the way, wenn die Geist ruft von der Phone, nimmt es noch ein Schuh von deinem Brain, sich zu beruhigen von der Phone. So, wenn die Geist ruft 11 und die lässt aus der Phone, schlufst du nicht an 12.
The pornography is a problem, but I got to tell you, I don't know anybody who didn't find a way to pay some homeless guy a few dollars and get a magazine in the times when you couldn't get it on the internet. Meaning, teenagers are teenagers and will try to figure things out one way or the other.
Yeah.
But if, as a community, we're focusing on the problem is the inappropriate behavior, then we're losing sight of all the other things that come along with that. For example, case in point, online gambling.
Gambling. That's something that we're hoping to do a podcast on. Listen, the beginning of this conversation, I'm like really steering with you is I think there's so much going on that everyone likes to say, or people like to say, yeah, but not here. It's not happening here. So you're the guy who sits behind this computer, who sees the numbers come in. You just told me numbers before about the amount of suicides that were linked to the amounts of abuse that were linked to other things, right? So you see kind of under the hood what's going on.
Well, just not to scare off the listeners and the people that are watching, what I was doing was I was showing you within our over 20,000 clients that we've served, how many had multiple issues that came into it. Meaning I don't want it to make people assume that anybody that was abused is going to commit suicide, because that's not.
God forbid.
So I just want to make sure that we're on the same page of that. But yeah, there is a lot of things will link to one another, but the issues are far greater than people think. I mean, I could tell you right now, high school students gambling, the numbers are crazy.
Whoa.
Crazy.
Percentage of them doing it, or
so let's define the word percent. First of all, amount of money for sure. I mean, I'm dealing with something right now where somebody wiped out all of his parents' credit cards, maxed them all out by the time they found out, and this is a 15-year-old boy.
And he's in yeshiva.
In yeshiva. And
From
mainstream, from kid.
Tzitzis.
Wears his hat for davening, white shirt,
How much did he spend?
About $190,000.
Wow.
On
3 months.
On what? On sports gambling? Or?
So he did both sports gambling, and then he was also doing online casino, online gaming.
Wow. That's 15.
15-year-old.
Wieso kommt er über Zizi, hoben $190,000 zu sein, exposure. Wieso man es? Kann es nützen. Wieso? Interesting.
Where did they even pick up a behavior like that? Starts with dreidel? Like what?
Starts with dreidel.
Well, if the internet only problem is inappropriate behavior and you don't educate
man focused auf eine Sache, und if this is nicht the problem, verliert man sich mit alle andere Problemen.
People about what else can happen, then things are bound to happen. It's just we're setting it up for failure. I'm going to say that straight.
So, do you think that that's an anomaly, that 15-year-old?
Absolutely not. Wow. Absolutely not.
I wish it... In jeder einer, was hat nicht als ein Problem, oder weiß noch nicht als ein Problem, kiegt das und sagt, so wie far weg. Ne, es ist kein Problem. Bis hit home.
We're dealing with many, many, many cases right now. And all over the world.
Wow. Yeah.
I could tell you, we just had a call this week where we're developing some programming in another country, in Mexico. And we ran the numbers of the cases that we're dealing with in Mexico.
How did Pop didn't catch on 190K? Bin ich getracht, sie kann sein, als de Plätze, wie gespielt oder gegambelt, get aim credit. And they don't take it out until he maxes. Or something like that. Was ich kann mir vorstellen. I'm not saying this is it, but I'm just saying the idea. Like, du likes not run a credit card to start, and then you go and you go and you go. And noch dem chargen sie.
And I presented it to the Rav there, and he was, first he was like, yeah, we know. But is it by the frum or only by the not? Like, everybody likes to find a way. It's by everybody.
To absolve.
It's across the board.
I think people do that with everything, though.
Brooklyn. Hello and welcome. How you doing, Brooklyn?
Like, if someone hears that someone passed away, the initial instinct is like, how old were they? Oh, they're 80. Okay, so yeah, so that can happen to me. Like, everyone okay, so it can't happen to me because I'm not 80. Or, they were sick. Okay, so they were sick. So, but if you say someone was 31 years old and just didn't wake up, that's when people get uncomfortable and they probably don't want to talk about it because, oh, wow, like that happens.
No, it's not true. I'll tell you. Because anyone that dies young, it used to be they all died from aneurysms, and now they're all dying from the COVID vaccine. Nobody that dies under a certain age has died.
So auch der mordige Problem, because man sucht für jedem einem, nein, nicht gestorben, hat nur das, hat nur Jens, und dann, boom. Man weckt sich auf mit einem riesigen Problem, und keiner weiß nicht, wieso man ist das.
Either from an overdose, accidental most
Well,
often,
welcome, Moshe.
or, has death by suicide. No, nothing.
It sounds like you're being sarcastic.
Oh, very.
What you're hinting to,
I'm not hinting to, I'm saying it straight out.
What is it? What are
I'm
you saying?
saying is that we as a community, we're still living in the world where things have to get brushed under the rug.
Really?
So I got into big trouble about a year ago because I gave a speech someplace and we spoke about, people that were taking their own lives, unaliving themselves. I can't keep up with all the language, by the way. I'm trying. I am trying just to keep changing it. And
Ze machen es mehr smooth, unaliving.
the guy says to people, there was a whole group that came after me saying, you don't understand. When you talk about it, there's copycats. And I will tell you that, first of all, 43% of all studies are made up, including that one.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Number two is any study you do, you can have people on both sides of the coin. So you'll
Is he for real? Yes. If you're asking that guy, yeah.
have PhDs inside these telling you, yeah, we see an increase of suicide when you talk about it. And you'll have the other side saying, no, we don't. I'll tell you what I've noticed. What I've noticed is you talk about it and then somebody else passes away. And right away, the people are like, wait, 1 second. That person died young. Was it an overdose maybe? Was it something? So all of a sudden, their eyes are more open to understanding things. So you think you're hearing more about it. And the example I'm going to give you is what
I never thought about it this way. Basically, zogt, am redden fin, in etwas geschehnt, in mensen zijn meer aware fin, it seems like ze do meer. But ze dezelfde number.
kind of car do you drive?
Honda Odyssey.
Good. When
He doesn't drive a Honda Odyssey.
I'm sorry, the official, the official car of Jewish motherhood, right?
Of course, yeah.
So, question: when you first got your Odyssey and you started driving, how many Odysseys did you notice on the road?
A lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Ja, so du as a Sache, as once these zeesteppers, and you get aware of something, zeest de Sach mehr of the road, bis as nicht gewiss de fin, zeest es nicht. Yeah.
Because that's what you have. If you drive a Honda Accord, you'll notice Honda Accords. I got my Tesla. I noticed Teslas. That's the way it is. When something is in your mind, you're aware of it, you'll be more aware of it.
So du an Nummern der Fahrt, du an Nummern.
So one of the biggest issues that we've had is you can't do prevention programming in schools. Why? Because you're going to educate them to want to do the things that you're trying to prevent.
Right. So, like, if you're trying to do
Does he have kids? Yeah, I believe so.
education, prevention on drug use, you're going to teach them about drug use.
Exactly.
I think what you're kind of saying is, though, like, they already know.
Well,
No?
I don't know. Let me ask you a question. When you teach a kid to look both ways before crossing a street, are you worried that he's going to run into the street on purpose to show you, look? No, you're teaching him. This can be dangerous, right? You're educating, right? You're teaching somebody to swim. You're educating them.
Right. We don't
This
teach someone how to
was-
swim.
Maar gaan we zoeken met herangangen in Rehab, en is er rausgekommen, wissen dich von sach andere Mine drugs. So I sag mal, Rehab is auch nicht geht. But education is definitely good.
And because of the what could possibly happen.
So the assumption that we make, forget about the fact that they know. Yes, they do know. But let's even assume that they don't. At some point, they will. Whenever it is that they learn these things, gambling, abuse, addiction, mental health issues in general, right? Whatever it might be, don't you want people to at least be somewhat educated and knowledgeable?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make all of our lives much easier?
100%. So what's the obstacle to you guys?
Weil Menschen wollen nicht sagen, was können wir reden, sie unsere Kinder. Unsere Kinder sind fein. Und sind wir die goldene Kite, wo das sich weiterziehen. Verstehst?
Achieving that education. I know I did not receive that in high school, or I don't think our kids getting that now.
So I will tell you that there is a program out there right now that we helped fund a big part of it, and it's growing, which is in about 100 schools nationwide. It's endorsed by Torah Masorah, Ravel Yabrudny, Ravel David, Noba. It's called Darchenu. It's a phenomenal social emotional curriculum. It's not even about abuse or addiction. It's literally preventative education, teaching children starting in 5th grade about healthy decision making, healthy behaviors, just how to be a mensch.
Mm-hmm.
And the
You would think I'm a get this Gehrigen Geide, no?
studies and the results have been
He's like the sheriff in town. When he shows up, the party is over. Well, if you're talking about people taking drugs or they're gambling or they're basically hyped over the rug. Jeder eine pusht es under the rug. Hyped over the rug. Well, we darf man sagen Menschen.
Phenomenal that education such as that is what's the answer. That the answer is educating in a culturally sensitive, age-appropriate way that will also allow for questions, and more important than the questions,
Ga maken 1.5. So
allow for there to be answers. And here's the trick. If a kid asks a question and a Rebbe or teacher doesn't know the answer, that's also an answer.
Right.
You know, when I was growing up, I asked questions. I had the benefit of either being called an apikairis or told we don't discuss those topics, or we don't talk about these things, because that's the answer. That's not an answer. That's telling me Rebbe doesn't know how to answer my question, so he's calling me an apikairis, because if he'd be smarter, he would be able to explain to me why I'm asking it, or why am I asking about something that, you know, that pertains to the street, or something that pertains to, you know, listen, let's look at, just to shift gears for a second, right? You're a little bit younger than me, but when I was younger, the town drunk was the joke of the neighborhood. We saw the guy sitting on Fort Hamilton Park.
No kwittelig this year. Brooklyn.
Parkway on 55th Street, walking to the park Shabbos afternoon. Everybody made fun of the guy.
Right.
You hear about it in Europe, Shikker, Yankel the Shikker, right? You hear about these things. We have changed our culture where alcohol has become a huge personification. Right? You go to somebody's Shabbos table, look at the vintage, the wine I have, this bottle, 30 years, 20 years. So we've created the system where the kids are learning from us, right?
Yeah.
So we know they're learning about alcohol. All they're hearing from the parent is you can't drink it, you're under 21, right? They're not being educated in school as to the dangers of alcohol, right? Mm-hmm. So, and it must be good.
And ook them, yeah.
Because everybody's doing it, even though I can say myself safely, nobody I know ever enjoyed their first shot of scotch or vodka, ever.
Let me ask you though, I remember seeing the Amudim videos with the alcohol and you know, the kid following the father, kiddish club, this, that. Part of me feels like we way off that alcoholism is maybe not as much as a thing. Like maybe there's more of like an awareness and that people are just smarter. Is that not true?
I wish.
I'm wrong.
I mean, it's job security for my staff. I wish. You're not only are you wrong, I've been saying this for the last few years, alcoholism has already grown. It's not only men by kiddish clubs, it's the women in the neighborhood now, it's younger people, it's not.
So it's only gotten worse.
Als jeder Sache ist trinken, ja, Shabbos, man trinkt, die Kinder kicken auf die Sachen, why wouldn't they want to be cool? Warum sollten die Kinder nicht gekannt warten zu trinken? You know, dem keiner explaint nicht, was geht geschehen. Und man trinkt, dann noch man auskicken wie Levine. Nicht so in the toilet, you know what I'm saying?
In a certain sense, it's gotten worse and we know about it more. It's one or the other or a little bit of both.
It's definitely gotten worse because they do mehr Menschen, the population, the Yiddish population has grown. So it's just number-wise, as geht werden mehr.
Again, nobody's ever going to become an addict.
More sarcasm.
Yes.
They give you wine by the bris. That's a Brooklyn comment.
I will preface by saying, let me be sarcastic now. I don't know anybody that started drinking or started using drugs and said, I want to become an addict.
No.
Or gambling, yeah.
Or gambling, or sex addiction, or porn addiction,
I
or
bet
anything.
that kid thought he was just placing one bet.
It starts with one bet. It starts with two.
Is there anybody else in that kid's life that knew he was doing it? I'm just like enamored by that story.
So one of the things that we've learned, and this is why education is so important, the survival mechanism of an addict is the ability to hide until hiding is no longer accessible, and by then it's usually very late. But if kids have who to speak to or would feel comfortable, I mean, you know, you're giving yourself a better option of opening a door. At some point, I mean, this kid has said that he was hoping at some point somebody would have caught him.
Really?
He just didn't know, like, at that point he was going to be...
Hast du gehört von einer Sache, als Ganovam, als sag mal, seine so eine Weise, wen hat man sich haben, just hab mich schon, just arrest mich, just hab mich schon, lass mich up.
In so much trouble, what's he going to do? Now, that didn't get any better. But he said, I wish somebody would have caught me. Like, it's 15, but he understands what he was doing was wrong. But he couldn't get rid of it. The high was too much. He just needed to do it. The adrenaline, that was too much for him. And you have the same thing.
So it's not the kid's fault he started about as the bris. I don't think Penny McKenna is sagen, because keiner wird nicht alcoholic von damals. You know what I'm saying?
By the way, about other types of prevention, when you talk about healthy decision-making, right? Rabbi Avi Landa, who works with us and teaches a bunch of stuff in school, has said that there was a student that he noticed through teaching one of these social curriculums, something just, it wasn't all there. And he pulled the kid aside and the kid's like, I've been waiting for somebody to ask me. I've been waiting. So we don't want to be bad. We really don't. Not by nature, not by nurture. We want to be good. People want to be good inherently. That's my belief. And people do bad things. They're not necessarily bad people. I mean, there are some bad people, but as a general rule, Good people do bad
Good
things.
joke, Penny.
And we need to be able to separate that as well. You see, if everybody feels that they're getting stigmatized, they're not going to want to reach out for help either.
Right.
So it's like, why do I want to tell somebody my problem? That's just going to make my life worse.
Yeah.
We'll be right back to this episode. A quick word from my friends at
Hold on. So yeah. Redgit.
Just let them know that you heard about them on Meaningful People.
I think like over the years we went from, and Amudum like was kind of first to the game with all this, like way ahead of its time, bringing awareness to these topics. But I kind of feel like it went from no one was talking about it. Amudum started talking about it. Everyone's talking about it. And people are saying now that it's being spoken about too much, and we don't believe anymore the things that are being said. I guarantee you, people are going to watch this and they're going to say they don't believe what you're saying. I had Rachel Bayer on this podcast, and she said the stats of 1 in 4 being, sexually abused. And I can't, the first reactions I got to that, it's not true.
So
it's not true.
Warum soll einer sagen, dass es true? Warum soll einer wollen accepten as a bad Sach? Because I'm accept dass es 1 in 4, and die kickst dann in bei dich, it's just a number Sach.
First of all, I actually watched that podcast. Okay. I happen to like her a lot. I think she's a fascinating person and she does great work. There is a little bit of a question about those.
A guy walks into a liquor store and buys for Shabbos hundreds of dollars. Yes. In Penny, most of the times is as the neighbor, the Gast, soll sagen, oh, pshi, das gekauft der 15er. Hast der 30er? Pshi, die bist cool.
Statistics. I'm going to have to say this straight out.
Okay.
We have to define.
It doesn't make any sense unless you're Orlando. I don't know, SW. I'm Brooklyn, sorry. So can sein as, he racked up and then they charged him. In case 190 is mit penalties and Sachen. But sie sagen, dass nicht stemmes. Very hard. Shia, hello and welcome.
What abuse is and how it's
Ich verstehe aber the natural Sache, sie sagen, dass nicht stemmes. I get that.
categorized
In beide, don't know.
in order to be able to give that number. Meaning the number is definitely high. I will say that. Okay. I can tell you for sure 1 in 10, for sure.
Right.
Okay. Meaning it's not a small number. However, one of the things that like the general world will consider a statistic is somebody seeing somebody naked. Statistically, people might consider a child seeing an adult naked could be considered abuse.
Right.
Now bring that into the mikveh culture.
Ooh.
Which we can get to a separate discussion that I think is ridiculous, and kids should never be going to mikvahs. It's a whole separate area to talk about for so many various reasons.
So the situation happens over here. The problem geht daran, als einer, was fängt an sehen Problems und will preventen Problems, geht umkommen zu Sachen wie Menschen gehen sagen, lass doch auf, was selbe Sache, was Pinny gemacht hat, Joke wegen der Briss und der Wahn, ja, in Mikve. So fängt an touchen about core things, wie man darf machen a difference, verstehst?
Not just abuse. But yeah, so if Hasidic kids are on the mikvah when they're young and they're hanging out with all these naked men in a mikvah, they will fall under the category of theoretically having been abused, and that statistic will just go higher. So it's one of those things where you want to be careful when you give out information.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big believer in being data-driven. I'm a data freak. Everybody makes fun of me between Salesforce, Power BI, now using AI. I like to know what's going on.
Right.
Okay. Yes, my numbers, nobody will believe me. That's true. But at least I know I'm giving them the honest number. And if they do a little bit of research, they can find out. So you have
we
to
could agree it's somewhere. I think she said in terms of like in some cases it's 1 out of 6. You would agree it's between 1 out of 6 and 1 out of 10.
And if it, 1 second. Yes, but let me ask you another question. And if it's 1 out of 20, right? Does that make it better?
I think not. If you're in shul and there's 40 people there,
Or if you're in a classroom, it's 1 out of 1 kid in the class.
Yeah.
You didn't even start your school yet.
Yeah. But I mean, we have this culture that like, it's not true. It's not true. It's not true.
Ja, we kind of anders kicken in the spiegel.
Again, it's a safety mechanism. It's a defense mechanism.
He hates Hasidim. I don't know if he hates Hasidim. Kenzan hat found certain Sachen für Hasidim.
And it's a survival technique.
So what do you do about that? Because like you're
So far hat noch gut nicht gesucht in hate of the Hasidim. So
driving it home.
But you're dealing with all this stuff, and people say what the stuff you're dealing with is not true. It's kind of similar to it's kind of like the mainstream media saying that the atrocities that happened after October 7th didn't happen. Then you have like members from Zaka and Mata United Salah being like, we were there. Like, what do you mean it's not happening?
And the people that don't want to believe it, will convince themselves.
Exactly.
Well, how can you convince them if they're listening?
Bis fängt ungeschämt zu sein daheim.
Right, I'm just
I just say it the way it is. I just say it the way it is. I just say it the way it is. I don't believe in holding back. We have addiction, all types of addiction. We have abuse, all types of abuse. Is everybody abused? No. Is everybody an addict? No. Is every kid that, and I hate the term off the derech because who decided what the derech is, but is every kid that's categorized as that a victim of abuse? No. Like, I'm going to say a lot of the...
Ich kann sehen, also werden face-to-face ads mit leaders, because once you fangst an rubrechen the veil of things, it's a bisschen schwer. It's a bisschen like, what are we doing? We're changing the fabric of Hasidim. We're changing the fabric of Judaism. So...
Stereotypes aren't true. But the reality is we have all these problems.
Yep.
And putting our head in the sand doesn't solve it. It never did. It never will.
What does solve it?
In my opinion, there's two components. One is awareness. People need to hear about it. And by the way...
Who's not aware, though, of any of these things? Who's not aware
that Mensch was gleibnisch?
That you have a 15-year-old drinking alcohol, it might lead to a problem. Who's not aware that,
most people.
They're not aware of the fact that their 15-year-old could possibly be the 15-year-old.
Yep.
Nobody's denying that 15-year-olds are getting drunk. Because anybody that goes to a Shalom Zachar sees what happens when a kid's sneaking out or bar mitzvah or whatever, right? They're not denying it. They're in denial that it could be their kid, that it could be their student. The issue itself, I think we're past denial. Shmuel Kamenetsky said it many years ago. There's no more room under the rug. It's the best line.
There's no more room
but
under
now
the rug.
The denial shifted to, he's over-embellishing. It's not everybody. It's not by me. It wouldn't be, we have this video that's called It's Not, that it's not us, right? Not by us. Like it mimics all different segments of within the Jewish community, Orthodox, Hasidic, Litvish, modern Orthodox, non-religious. And it's the same, the way the PSA was done, it's the same parents and the same child. Just they're wearing different types of clothing, and the person they're sitting with is either a Hasidic Rebbe or a Rav or an English principal, right? Or, modern Orthodox rabbi. But the context is the same. We don't have these things here. It doesn't happen in our community, right? The context is the same. And the reason why that video was so powerful is because that's the message it's giving, is that, no, it is everywhere. These things happen everywhere. Unfortunately, I hate being an I told you so person. More often than not, it's when people are saying to me, Tzvi, I'm sorry that I doubted you. I need help with, my loved one. Or they'll call on Mudim asking for help, saying, make sure Tzvi doesn't know I called, which I can safely say I don't know the clients that we have. Unless they want me to know, I have no way of knowing. I don't go through it. It's not my business. I'm not a clinic. I'm not a clinician, But at the end of the day, that's unfortunately the way we find out. And that's the problem, because we don't, again, ignorance is bliss. And the truth is, sometimes I say to myself, I wish that I didn't know everything I know.
Right.
I wish I can live this relaxed, life that nothing, happens in my world.
But he was chosen.
Unfortunately, the world we live in is what it is.
Yeah. Let me ask you, do you think that if people out there would know the things you know or see the things you see, do you think they'd be able to sleep at night?
I don't welcome.
So you didn't ask me if I sleep at night. So that's an unfair question.
You don't sleep at night.
Right. The answer is, it would be tough. It would be, if they would believe it.
If they see it, they believe it.
But it's a lot tougher when someone's not sleeping at night because they buried a child or a spouse or a loved one.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, then they experience
because
it.
Because you cannot change it. Ich habe schon geredet von dem Hampton früh. Toi hat das a certain Sicherheit zu sich. So over. Kannst gut nicht in zurückzubringen. Instead of a hard left.
You mentioned in passing, I want to zoom in on this a bit. You mentioned with sarcasm that, obviously you're sarcastic, that there's nobody under 30 who passes away from just natural causes. They blame it on COVID vaccine or blame it on thing. What sounded like what you were kind of saying is there are many times where someone young age will pass away and the cause of death is very ambiguous and it's an aneurysm or it's just that. And what you're saying is it's more times than not, and we're not talking about any, obviously no personal situation, but more times than not, there's an overdose that's being hidden.
Yep. So let me say this. I don't ever want to know what it's like to be in a position of a family that lost a loved one for something that is that traumatic, whether it's overdose or suicide. And I don't wish it upon anybody. And I don't judge anybody for not wanting to share why their loved one died. I don't judge them, and it's not my place to share someone else's secret. Okay. I will tell you that when Malki Klein Alei Shalom passed away, and her father, Rabbi Remel, who's a tzaddik, great guy, the parents, they're all good people. Yeah. When her father got up and spoke by the Levaya and said, Malki died of an overdose. If anybody here needs help, please let me know. We'll get you help. People got up and got help. People actually went over to him, Levaya, Shiva, and since then. Why? Because he faced it head on. This is what happened. Let's use that unfortunate experience to be able to help make the world a better place, to save someone else from the tsar that he was going through. Now, I'm not making a statement that says every 30-year-old that died of one of those things.
Yeah, God forbid, yeah.
But I can also tell you that not every 30-year-old that died from an aneurysm. In other words, at some point, people, in order to address an issue, you have to acknowledge the issue. As I said, as a community, we're doing far better in accepting that the issues are happening than we did years ago. But we're still light years away.
Deze van mechanisch is denying, you know?
Way of truly saying we're going to deal with this.
Yeah. Listen, first of all, Neshama.
Because in the week, I get that exam cup, like he doesn't know what to do with this information.
Going to deal with this.
Yeah. Listen.
What's that? Like you get those guys who are like, okay, like what is he going to do with this?
First of all, Neshama Malki Klein Shev Aliyah. That story is like me and the clients forever were tied by the hip. When I first started Meaningful Minute, I put out a video, and it was literally just a couple months after I got a message from the Klein family. Someone at the Klein family, they had just buried their daughter, their sister, and that Remy reached out. He said he was just finishing Shiva and he saw a Meaningful Minute video. It was a video of Rabbi Manas Friedman saying something, and it said it gave him the chizuk to speak up and to speak the truth. And to feel the way he feel and be outspoken the way he was outspoken. And for me, it was at that point, Meaningful Minute was a hobby. And I decided then, I'm like, this is not a hobby. Like this is something that really makes a difference. And like there's so many people in pain. Malcolm Klein was in so much pain.
Yeah,
she was a great girl.
Yeah,
she was a great. It was one of my wife's students. She was biased for Shabbos. I mean, Avraham said to me a few times when he sees me, he goes, "The best Shabbos she had was the Shabbaton by you in Queens." And it's like. Yeah, and so, but again, if we could do something to prevent parents from having to live through that pain and agony.
And the problem is, as once it geschehnt, can ich the deny the Zeiger, and it stays forever.
Yeah. Nobody thinks it'll be them, ever.
Exactly.
And you know what? We're living in a crazy world. Listen, the world's gone nuts. Say whatever you want. The world.
Yeah,
I don't even. There's nothing to say.
There's so many examples. But
the world's gone crazy, and anything you say, you're going to either be canceled or uncanceled, decanceled, recanceled. They have to have now 17 different ways of saying the word canceled.
Are you cancelable?
I don't know. I guess. I mean, I'm assuming everybody's cancelable.
No? I mean, if you haven't been canceled yet, I don't know.
I mean, the people that have tried to cancel me, forever. I'm still alive. I don't know. I guess everyone's cancelable for the right. All you have to do is tick off the wrong person who woke up that morning deciding what they're going to be upset about that day and how they're going to. I mean, everyone's cancelable. I try to stick by my convictions, regardless of what others.
You also have like rabbinic backing. It seems like you have the people in your
rabbinic backing.
Yeah. So people always say to me, Revelia Brudny is the Rav of Amudim, and he's the rabbinical guide. But he understands what we're doing. We've had crazy questions that have come up over the years. I mean, to the point, no, Amudim has a full-time rabbi.
So why isn't Amudim in every yeshiva?
We're getting there. Baby steps.
Baby steps. So when we spoke 4 years ago, we were also doing those.
100 yeshivas since then.
Okay.
Well, 1 second.
Respect.
Hello, 100 yeshivas in 4 years?
That's good.
Come on.
That's good.
We always look at the wins.
Seminaries also.
In Israel, we have an entire program in seminaries and yeshivas in Israel. My office in Israel is Baruch Hashem doing amazing.
How often are girls going to seminary and seeking out therapy and help that their parents don't even know about?
Very. The number one reason why we opened in Israel was to address, and this was purely based on abuse. Mendy Klein Olav Shalom had a phenomenal foresight where we knew that most people that are abused.
It is Mendy Klein in Ohio. Yeah,
are abused either at home or by somebody very close to them.
Yeah.
So that means it's very hard for them to reach out and get help. But if they're 6,000 miles away and they don't have to ask their parents' permission, because
zijn noemen is Zwieglock, and owned geëffend Amudum in zijn namen van abuse and preventive Sachen.
They're over 18. There's an opportunity. That's actually why we started Amudim Israel, was for that reason.
I figured, and like I wanted to bring that up.
By the way, it's not just seminary girls, yeshiva guys too. I will say a lot of the yeshivas and seminaries, though, and this is just to talk about how the world has changed, do have their own mental health professionals that are involved in the schools. They're becoming much more in tune to it. So we're definitely seeing tremendous change. We'd like to see more, but we have to look at the positive. We're seeing a lot of good.
This is not an ad break. This is me telling about a new documentary that's coming out in a couple of weeks.
Hold on.
There are girls going to
or while it's still 50% off. Now back to this episode.
Do you think people would be shocked to hear that there are girls going to seminary and like after they land, one of the first things they'll do a couple months in is they'll go seek help for something they've been through?
What do you mean? I wrote an article a few months ago, it was right before the school year started, where I put something out addressing yeshivas and seminaries. And a bunch of my staff in Israel sent me messages saying these girls are asking that their parents have called them to say, is it true? Are you or anyone you know? And they were saying, no,
don't talk about it.
No, I'm not in therapy. This is what they're telling my therapist in Israel. Like, I'm not in therapy. I'm not here in the Jerusalem Therapy Center getting help.
Is that your center?
The Yeshiva University and Amudim partner together, and we opened up a clinic about a few years ago called the Jerusalem Therapy Center. So in addition to Amudim proper, which does the clinical case management and the education, prevention, and the crisis, work, we actually have a real clinic, like where people come in for therapy, and it's doing very well.
I wanted to bring that up for two reasons. One, I thought it's very interesting that it's happening and it's important, it's good. And two is girls listen to this and boys listen to this in yeshiva and seminary, listen to this podcast. And I think it's a great thing for them to know about if they don't already, that This is an option for them.
Reach out.
Why do you think, so you're saying that they can't do it at home? There's too much happening. It could be,
Or it could be if somebody was abused by their father, by their uncle, by their older brother, by a brother-in-law, by a cousin, by whatever, and they know, they tell their parents, then it's not true, so here they can at least get the help that they need.
Es geht eine kleine Sache. Man sagt, und man kommt zurück sagen, als nicht anders. Phew.
Very interesting. Just one more point about prevention. A few months ago, I was in Israel and I was by United Hatzalah, and they had this screen. They were showing green blinking dots, which was saying that their AI powered system could predict based on their call volume and statistics where the next call is going to be. And then they scramble, their ambulances in those areas, and they're able to get the calls quicker. Does a Mudim, or do you think there's ever going to be a time that you have a similar system in place where you can predict, where a Rebbe can get up in a class and he can look at the 25 kids in his class and he could say, there are 3 boys that have, I'm going to put a little bit of an asterisk next to their name because these kids show things, signs, their background, whatever it is, that they might be of a larger risk to alcoholism, drug addiction, abuse. Can we get ahead and really predict who's going to be the next one?
So the answer is no. You can never get ahead and predict because there is no clear distinction. People always make the assumption, the child from the divorced home, the child who has a sibling that has cancer, but then you realize that your percentages are equal across the board with the family that is the most.
Der Mensch mit der Car, was hat ungefüllt mit Bags, und man rief dem der Schlepper, usually nicht the one.
Kashiv and the most philanthropic and the biggest Rosh Yeshiva where everybody's married, no divorces. So
it's all the same.
It's all the same. What we could do, and with proper education, and I know Torah Masora is doing a lot of work on this. I give big props to them. Both Torah Masora and with their Mashgiach program that they have, that Rabbi Morgenstern is very involved in. I mean, Rabbi Morgenstern, yeah. Another good guy.
Really good.
Is if you can educate Rabbeim and teachers for pattern and behavior changes,
right,
and to respond in a healthy way. Now, let me just give you like one example.
And you were kicked out of like how many yeshivas?
I went to 4 elementary schools and 14 high schools. I wasn't kicked out. It was a management issue.
I didn't know those 14 high schools existed.
It was management. By the way, I got to tell you, great story. I was in Eretz Yisrael not too long ago. My son, he's second year Shana Bet. He's been making siyum in different city mission. He's doing great. So we've just finished, and we're in a shul. And in between Mincha Ma'ariv, there was a rav that gave something, and my son had a serious question. And my kids are Baruch Hashem very smart. I just tell you, it skips a generation.
After the mother, they got it from the
mother, my parents, anybody but me. I don't know.
I think for your sake, you should say your wife, not your parents.
I should say my wife for my sake. Okay, my wife. I say what I believe, right? Whatever. It's anybody. Listen. I said anybody but me.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's what I said. But anyway, so my son's waiting, and this was a Friday night, and we were actually supposed to go to somebody, my cousin, for the meal, and we're just waiting because he's waiting for this person to finish talking so that he can present his shaila on what this person said, which I was blown away because my son quoted 2 different Gemaras and 4 different Taisvos in that discussion. And he goes, "What's your name?" Tzvi, Glock, oh, yeshiva, whatever. I said, "I went to this yeshiva." He goes, "Second." No, first he says, he says something like, "I'm a Rebbe." I said, "Oh, I went to many yeshivas." He goes, "Oh, I never had you as Talmud." I said, "Oh, could be." He goes, "What's your name?" And I give him my name. He goes, "1 second. I had you in 12th grade for a few weeks." I said, "Yeah, now it makes more sense." So it was kind of funny that my Rebbe, who had a management issue, as my father likes to say, I left yeshivas because of management
Test kids 4 times a day.
issues.
Right.
I thought I was managing. They thought they were managing. It didn't work. Being Rabbi Gluck's son got me into every yeshiva. It didn't necessarily keep
you
me
there. I hear you.
But it was funny to meet this Rabbeim. But yeah.
Just back on the thing about school for a second. I mean, you mentioned, I don't know if you were in 14 schools, but you were in a lot of schools. Or having to switch because of management. Let's call a spade a spade. You probably asked to leave.
I mean, I was labedik. Asked to leave. I don't know, going to a movie, having a girlfriend, smoking a cigarette. I mean, these are all capital offenses. The schools have rules. I didn't follow them. That's the truth.
But what would that do to you? Meaning, here you are, you're leading this organization. There are kids who got kicked out of one school and it affects them. You're kicked out of a dozen.
So I'm going to...
So hat so affected, the organization.
Say something now very, very... It's going to be interesting, but I'm going to say it. First of all, there's no greater embarrassment at the time than being thrown out of a school. No matter what. I don't care how old you are. I had an irony that many of the times that I got thrown out, it was like, I got up early in the morning. I was going to Shachris that day. This is it. This is my first day of my new life. And after Shachris, I'm thrown out. Like, why did I go to Shachris? Maybe they wouldn't have remembered I was there. But there's certainly a truth to it, which is helpful.
Schmelke Leifer, man. Das Yeshiva pflegt sagen. Ein Tag hat rausgeworfen meinem. Lehnt schon bei ihm 3 Uhr. Noch ist geöffnet kein Cipher, kommt heibig spät mit alles. Schau, schickt ihn mal heim. Der Tate kalt ihm mit Tanas. Jetzt warfst du mal raus. Ping der Tug, was decided zu lernen und sich changen. Jetzt warfst du mal raus.
In life in general, by the way. Just want you to know, because we talk about people that when they're struggling with addiction, they're doing so well and then they fall back, right? So this is not the same thing, but at least it's somewhat relatable. We're like, I'm changing it. I'm going to turn over a new leaf, and then you get into trouble. So that's a second piece of the puzzle that always becomes painful. I will tell you that of my friends, being that I was getting thrown out, I had friends in the same boat. Many of my friends weren't as lucky as me. They weren't Rabbi Gluck's son. They weren't raised by parents who actually cared for them and loved them, as my parents have and should live and be well at May Basram. And many of them are no longer alive. I will say that straight. Being thrown out 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. And it's not Tzvi Gluck saying this. This is the Chazon Ish said it. The Baba Rebbe Zatzal said it. I was told the Satmar Rebbe Zatzal said it. I don't know. The other ones I've had more direct quotes, but it could be. Throwing a kid out of yeshiva without finding them a proper place to go to is murder. It's Ritzicha.
Wow.
Unless the kid being in your school is going to blow the place up or do something insane, there's always a place. Find an appropriate place.
But why is the school achrayus to find them a place?
Because that's the achrayus of the yeshiva.
Hast du mal angenommen, sonst wissen der achrayus und den nimmst du mal an.
You have a student by you in the yeshiva, they are your achrayus while they're there. It's an achrayus, you accept it. It's not a business.
They're dismissing the student for breaking the rules.
Good. So dismiss the student for breaking the rules without killing him in the process.
But someone would say it's like if someone gets fired from their job for...
Not the same thing. Not the same thing.
Is not a business.
Exactly.
And that's the difference. When I hear from somebody, but so-and-so owns the school, so he can do what he wants. Yeah, you're right, he could, and that's the problem. Chinuch is not a business. Chinuch is shaping the life, molding the future of somebody who's going to either grow up and be a productive member of society or not. And you have that balance. How are you going to react to that? I want to say something. I'm not going to say which one, but one of the yeshivas that I had a management issue with, I got thrown out of, say it the way it is. I was thrown out. This specific yeshiva threw me out for something I did not do. Now, I want to be very honest. There was 872 reasons they could have thrown me out. Honestly.
Yeah.
They could have. The one reason they chose to throw me out for was just not true. It was also worse than all the other 872 reasons combined. And they did it in a very public setting. The entire yeshiva was in the Beis Medrash, high school, Beis Medrash Kollel. And the Rosh Yeshiva called me out by name, announced what the allegation was, and threw me out in front of everybody. Okay. I'm going to fast forward many years. I was giving a speech to principals. And I had just said this piece that you're killing somebody when you throw them out. And a certain principal comes to me and says, I want you to know, in our yeshiva, we never have that. We always find somebody a place. We'll never be mavazer them. We understand it. And he gives me the name of the yeshiva. And I looked at him. I said, whose son are you? He gives me the name. I said, maybe we could thank your father for maybe one of the main reasons why we started Amudim. Because that certainly wasn't the case 30 years ago. And I said it straight.
Well, at least they changed.
1 second. This is not even the part of the story. This is leading into it. About 2 hours later, he finds me again, and he says, by the way, my father is here. He would like to speak to you. I haven't seen this person in over 30 years. I do what I want to do, right? Like you said, am I scared? Yeah. Not scared. I felt like I was going to melt, literally. I was shaking, and I said, okay. And I go sit down with him, and he looks me straight in the face, and he says, obviously, I know things now I didn't know then. I just want to take this opportunity to formally ask you for mechila for what I did to you.
Gee, powerful.
Now, I felt like a ton of bricks came off my chest. Now, there's many of other people that have done things to hurt me over the years. Maybe they'll do the same one day. Maybe not. Now they'll watch this. They'll know they have an opportunity to do so. But I will say that apology, I'm not saying it didn't hurt when it happened, but that really, it just gave me a renewed, at least feeling of like validation. It is what it is. Again, we are where we are today. But the yeshivas are getting better, but they still do it. I still get calls from parents all the time. My kids being thrown out. And then you hear the reasons why they're being thrown out. And some of it is more ridiculous than the next.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, that's a big respect.
So ich meine, man darf stoppen die ganze Idee, man missgehen in Yeshiva. Warum kann man nicht gehen zu etwas an School, wie man lernt aus, a Fach, a Sach, sort of a job. Man darf weggehen von dem Mindset.
And credit to that Rosh Yeshiva for doing that. So you're saying about training Rebbeim to understand patterns.
So let me give you an example, right? Everybody knows if a kid goes from having straight A's to getting a D.
Clear giveaway.
Right? What happens if a kid's a D student who now gets a straight A for 3 times in a row?
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with that.
Right. But it's extremely unhealthy.
Really?
Yeah, because nobody will jump. Any jump like that is compensation.
What do you mean? Something... Was heißt? Als geht von D zu A, dass der gewurrt werden, von wo ist es gewesen, wo ist es geschehen, du A, what's happening?
Doesn't matter what it is.
Compensation.
The same way...
Someone's paying him to do better?
Nein, compensation ist nicht nur Geld. Goylem.
Or in a way to compensate for being abused at home or in a way to compensate for having other issues going on in his life or her life. There's a healthy way.
Is that a stretch?
Absolutely. No, not a stretch at all. That's what I'm telling you. So why is it so important? Why is education so important, right? Educating the educators.
Because my reaction right now.
Because your reaction right now is the same reaction that everybody would have. Now, if you see somebody gets 70s and then they're going up to 75, 80, or they worked really hard on a test and they got an 85 and then maybe a little back, but if somebody is making such a change, now again, by the way, also remember, pattern and behavior changes will be different in different communities. In the Litvisher community, right, the kid starts off by growing a chup. Oh, his hair is getting too long. In the Hasidic community, kids that are struggling might keep everything hidden because they know whenever they make that turn, there's no going back. Yeah. So you have to be able to so you need to really be educated in each community to understand the nuances.
What's mind change by the community you're in?
Understand what is there. Exactly. Rabbi Yanki Horowitz told it to me when we put out some of our videos. So one of the educational videos we did an animation series, which is really cute. And he's like, this animation is great, but for them to accept it in Williamsburg, you need to change the animated kids to kids with payas, because that's what they're going to relate to. Right. You need to change it from a kid walking into his house to walking into an apartment building after school. And he said, if you look at my books, the Yiddish, English, and the Hebrew ones, you will notice that each of the books, the imaging is totally different. The books in Hebrew look more like what Israeli streets and homes look like. The same thing applies. There's no one potion for everything. So people need to be educated. And that's really the only real way to deal with this is by proper prevention and education.
And if arcade rentals aren't your thing, then I don't know what.
So yeah, so far I like them.
Color. Those are the people. So you're saying that's something you started doing, we're doing?
Both. No, we're doing. I'm saying this. So we're doing now. We're doing more than just that. We're doing more than just that. Now we're also doing curriculum in schools, which schools are like, oh, we don't have time. When should we add this in? Every Rosh Yeshiva that saw it, that knows who we are, said instead of Musar, give that to the boys. Like this is more important, and it will fall into that category. The point is that we are definitely getting places, definitely. And the community is definitely more acceptable to it. But we still got a long way.
Is he not Yankel Horowitz?
Ahead of us, and again, these programs cost us a fortune of money, right?
Yeah.
And the schools are like, we don't have the money. Nobody wants to pay. They don't want to, the principal wants to maybe institute, doesn't really want to tell the board, so now it's like, well, what do we do? Like it cost us money. Like it's not like, oh, just give it to me and we'll do it. There's expenses involved. I mean, first of all, developing the program is millions of dollars and we're always developing and updating. But the point is though, so even the schools that want to teach it, and this is something that I'm going to say now, I want to say it carefully, but I'll say it anyway. If you learned math for 3 weeks out of the year, and I taught you math in 5th grade for 3 weeks, and 6th grade for 3 weeks, and 7th grade, would you know math?
No.
But we expect to walk into a school and do a 2-day prevention program on abuse and a 1-day class on bullying and a 1.5 days on internet safety, and we're going to solve all the problems. No, it's not realistic.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. It's important for the schools to have something better than nothing. But the statistics clearly show that the best method of children getting resilience and really knowing how to protect themselves and prevent from things happening, especially as they get older, is by real curricula. It's not going to just happen, and that's what we've developed.
Well, do you think that by doing this, there would be less suicides, less abuse?
100%.
Like, how is there? Like, how? Like, that's an easy sound.
Even save nur einer wollte gelohnt die ganze Sache. Nein, hat man nicht die ganze Zeit zu über save ein Mensch?
Okay. You looking for a job?
I don't think so.
I mean, if you want to help us get it in, help us.
We're doing this,
you're
right now.
You're more than welcome to bring us in a couple of donors to help us cover it and to get donors to cover schools. And
speaking of donors, as a nonprofit, I feel like it's probably been harder over the last couple of years to raise money. Real estate's really rough. What have you seen on that front?
So we definitely have noticed, a huge decline in funding, to the point that it's been affecting a lot of what we do. By the way, I'll say it. I'm not so happy to say it, but we used to have a fund called Project Heal where we paid for therapy for abuse victims who had never gotten therapy before, and we had to shut that fund down.
No way.
We were giving out millions of dollars a year, and it was the most painful thing.
And it couldn't.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah. So why you find like are people making less money? Like why are people not giving as much?
So it's a pattern.
Sind nicht so Geschmackesche zu geben. Menschen suchen nicht Huha. Sind nicht der Wahn, wo du bringst daran für Schabes. Weißt du, ich meine, der Bottle.
2021, 2022, 2023 real estate market. As we know, landlords stopped renting out apartments because they can't increase the rents. As their apartments are emptying, they're keeping them empty. They're, ghost apartments. I mean, they're speaking about it now all over the media.
Yeah.
What happened when Cuomo did that horrendous act that's hurting everybody.
Yeah.
So that was one. And then there's a lot of other very important tzedakahs, and there's also like we're firefighters, right? So, and I'm not saying this in a negative. I'm saying this. Mi Ka'amchi Yisrael, October 7th happened, and we stepped up. And I myself stepped up. I myself was involved in helping fund planes with medical equipment and mental health programs. One of which is being opened up literally in the next week in Israel in a hospital. I'm not able to discuss it in details yet, but there was a lot of money that went into that. So I'm just as quote unquote guilty of that, meaning helping other causes that are very important. But at the end of the day, it did affect nonprofits in the United States. And I've sat in with heads of other nonprofits. And if I tell you, again, our funding went down enough that we were down by over $2 million a year, which affected our ability to help for this specific therapy fund. Now, again, the therapy fund wasn't Amudim. Amudim is case management, but it was a big part of it. Helping somebody get therapy when they can't have it.
Like, what do those people do now, right? Like,
again, so then the answer comes, well, what did they do before Amudim? But then the answer is, well, before Amudim, they didn't know, or they didn't know they could. So it becomes a vicious cycle. But yeah, we certainly felt a big dip. We're hoping it'll get better now. We're hoping.
We do see, over the last couple of years, and I think Old Tzedakah is amazing, right? It's incredible. Tzedakah.
By the way, as things zijn schon doen, you don't mind hitting the like button. So gaat a lange week.
In Roma Torah, there's $110 million, I think, each year, last 2 years. That's
what I've been told, yeah.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. The assumption is, again,
Ich fühle, wie einer darf machen, also wie ein Awareness. Jeder eine soll geben Tzedukah, im Zahn-Circle. Keiner mehr für jedem einen in Zahn-Circle. Und ich meine, so hat klar, die soll wachsen. One of the things. Mit eigentlich busy geben Warte weg. Dorten, jene Land. A zweiter Konsch. Geb für sich. Geb für den Circle.
Is that money's coming from somewhere. Again, I'm not saying it shouldn't. Obviously, every tzedakah is important. Every cause is important. But
there's always a casualty.
And I think a lot of Meistis in America have been complaining. A lot of yeshivas I know that literally have been borrowing money from their boards to cover payroll. I mean, it has been tough. The nonprofit world, the frum nonprofit sector, has been having a very, very tough time.
Is there like a light at the end of the tunnel, or?
Well, I mean, hopefully the war ending in Eretz Yisrael, again, there's still going to be a lot of rebuilding costs and other things that are still going to be going on there, but hopefully that'll impact it.
Oh, Brooklyn, zoekst toch ja, geht. Everything boils down to money. It's always money. Yep. It's crazy.
Hopefully donors will realize that they have people in their own backyards and
exactly, your own backyards. Maar daarvan hebben focussen auf within. The idea of focus daarin in drossen, moeilijke problem.
Do that. I mean, hopefully people will make more money and be able to give more money. I mean, we're hoping. Listen, a lot of people, including Amudim, we're working on ways of having revenue generating things that we shouldn't have to rely on donors' money, which we're working on now, but it's going to take us a few years. We're opening up, a mental health clinic that will be self-sustainable. So we'll be able to provide therapy for people. Billing insurance, billing Medicaid. But the main thing that we keep reminding everybody is, but we're not changing the core Amudim. Amudim is not becoming a mental health clinic.
Right.
Amudim is remaining as case management. That's what we do. That's what we do well. And that is where we're saving lives every day. But we need to find ways that we can bring in revenue so that, because that was the big lesson we've learned the last 2 years.
Very interesting.
Can't rely on donors.
I hope people make enough money that everything can go around. In my experience, I don't think that I've never seen an organization say, okay, guys, we're good. Like, we don't need any more. Like, I don't think organizations that, raise money.
Das ist schon eine normale Sache. Wir sagen, es ist okay.
From something, we'll go ahead and be like, okay, now things are less. We don't need money anymore.
So the answer is yes and no. Meaning, as an organization, you're supposed to have an approved budget before you start the year, right?
Right.
Now, if you hit your budget, right? So one of two things happen. Either you'll still try to raise some more money so that you'll have a little bit of a head start to the next year.
Yeah.
Or you'll focus more on the growth of the organization or other things that need to happen. But it's like any other business, right? You're growing your business. So there's always going to be some point of growth. If an organization has a $10 million a year budget and somebody gives them $50 million and they don't even have what to do with it, right? Somebody passes away, some big endowment, what's that organization supposed to do with that money at that point? And at the same time, if an organization realizes, wow, we learned how to raise money, even if we don't need it now, but maybe we'll need it in 10 years. So we'll just keep raising money.
Right.
So yeah, that is part of the reality. But let's also remember that you have to run a nonprofit like you would run your business.
To make sure it's sustainable.
And it's got to be one way or the other. And it's, listen, there's no competition when it comes to chesed. At the end of the day, people are going to give to where they want to give.
Yeah.
And they're going to give to what makes them happy to give.
And Hashem provides.
Provides. But he needs messengers.
Oh, so then we're good. Hashem provides. Head of bait.
Ask for messengers,
for
right? Sure. The number one issue that we have at Amudim, and this is not just Amudim, it's, David Mandela's mentioned this to me from OHEL in passing. We remind people of the darkest time of their life.
Yeah.
They want nothing to do with you.
They want nothing. We have no alumni association, or a very small one, I should say. We do have a very small alumni association.
Thanks for the like.
People, maybe, out of over 20,000.
Who are like proud Amudim graduates. No one wants to think about that.
Proud Amudim graduates, maybe one or two of them would get up and speak publicly for Amudim. Right. The other three are supporting us financially, helping financially.
Yeah.
But I could tell you, I'm not going to say any names. I was sitting with somebody a few months ago, a young couple, husband and wife. I don't really remember much about them. I was with Yossi Goldberstein, who's my partner who runs Amudim Israel. And the wife asked if she could speak to me privately on the side. And I said, she just said to me, I want to thank you. Many years ago, before I was married, I needed help, whatever. And Amudim really helped me. And then the husband made a similar comment as well. They didn't.
Eli Oili. Simcha Weiss, hello and welcome. Wo steht dort? Wo hast du geschrieben?
Know each other. Muslim doesn't have a shidduch program. And I thought for sure, okay, wow, the husband thanked me, the wife thanked me. They're now married to each other. They both know. This would be like...
When does discipline come in? Nur wenn die nimmst es nicht personal. In die sees, wo es geht für die Mischpuche, in die sees, wo es geht für die Kind, is usually discipline after. Discipline ist kein Issue. Kinder haben lieb discipline.
A perfect opportunity of people that they're starting to make a living, and they did make some money, and I heard about it from other tzedakahs that they got involved in, but Amudim was not one of them. I don't blame them. I understand it. I wish it wasn't like that. But most people, when they give to a cause, either it's something that affected them, or they want an insurance policy, right? I'm going to donate an ambulance to Hatzalah, so I should never need to call them, right? Mm-hmm. But when it comes to stuff that we deal with, people don't even want to think about that as an insurance policy. That is so far-fetched. They don't even want to,
It's like Misaskim also has that. I think they have that issue also. It's like, nobody wants to think about it,
right,
but it's a reality.
Right.
It's unfortunate. It's a reality.
We got to do the best we can.
Yeah. Tell me about a phone call you got like this week about a case that you guys are dealing with now. Obviously no details, but you might not even know, but you'll know the type of calls that Amudim gets.
I get calls and I tell people right away, please call the office, because if you call me, you're going to wait for me to get back to you, and I'm going to get busy, and I'm the director, the fundraiser, the bottle washer. We did just bring in somebody to help us with the administrative work.
He shouldn't be involved with fundraising, but he is involved,
Fundraising, Andy Lauber just joined our family.
Nice. Yeah.
So Baruch Hashem, that was a good pickup for us.
Guy.
But I'm doing the job of 20. So when it comes to the clinical stuff, it's important. And I tell you, if you need me, let me know. Like if they need to speak to a Rav or something that won't listen to the family or whatever, I got to sometimes, meet up. But I did get a call from somebody who I actually know them, which is why I guess they felt comfortable calling me. Where the wife had just found out that the husband was involved in some severe, not just gambling, but debt, and from not good people. And reached out, and I'm not going to say nothing surprises me. Things do surprise me, don't surprise me, but this is like a family, good living, good, like everything from the outside, the 2 Range Rovers, the nice house, the summer home, the whole package.
Hello and welcome.
And yet,
some nights I do music reviews, and some nights tier there. Ich weiß nicht, ich kann get the topic, aber man darf es tun. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to review it.
There's nothing behind that door. Nothing. When I say nothing, I mean there was no food in the fridge. And this woman reached out, help for her husband. But, we try to remind people that it's not just about helping the husband, it's about helping the family. Reaching out to a local supermarket, grocery store, how can we do something in a Bakavidig way, help the family, make sure there's clothing. It's, at the end of the day, it's not just about helping the person who needs the help, because if you don't provide a support structure for their support structure, it's going to fall apart. Yeah. Again, that's just one that called me. Another person reached out through my wife to me about their elderly father, who since October 7th started heavily drinking. And they reached out to different organizations. Age, we don't know. The father doesn't want to get help. Again, this guy became an alcoholic at over 70 years old. I mean,
wow.
Like, for real. These things are heartbreaking. But then we get a call where somebody literally mentioned to me that his child's getting married in a few weeks, and he needs to make sure that I'll be there. And he even asked me to make sure that a certain one of my employees will be there as well.
Why is
because that's the employee that was very involved in helping him with his child. And he says, my kid would not be alive today. I would not be walking down the chuppah if not for you guys.
Right.
So we get calls like that. And that's really what keeps us going. We look at the wins. We look at all the positives. There's a lot of tragedy, but thank God there's a lot more wins than losses.
If you're hurt or find yourself in an accident, which let's be real, it happens more.
Daarvoor treffen sponsorships. It would be nice. It would be nice to treffen my sponsorship.
You're scared to say out loud.
Thank you, Simcha.
I don't really...
No, nothing?
I don't think so.
Appreciate it.
I mean, I'll talk about pedophiles and how they belong in jail, and I'll be told I'm a miser. Right. And then I'll say to them...
By the way, the Sruli Green full album reaction, Gatos get nog a few naginam. Terrible review hier. I changed my mind so much about it, but was kann man tun? Darf machen noch reviews. Noch reviews.
Look at the stats. I've serviced thousands of people. You don't know thousands of people in jail. Maybe ask yourself what's going on with our community, right? Maybe they should all be in jail. I know they all shouldn't be hurting people.
Right.
But then you look
It's tricky. It's true. And I discussed this with Rachel Bayer again. The community's support for people who are part of our community who commit an awful crime. And it seems there are times where we might be supporting the perpetrator more than the victim.
So let me give you my 2 cents on that, okay? First of all, the victim and the victim's family always needs our support first and foremost, no matter what. There's good and evil, period, end of story. As far as the perpetrator, if the perpetrator has a family, they deserve help too.
They do.
Right? Their spouses, the children, the siblings, they didn't do anything to
They
deserve
sign
it.
up for this.
So they deserve help too.
Yeah.
And people, there are times that I've actually helped raise money for a perpetrator's children to go to school. Like they needed yeshiva tuition. I mean, these are kids. They need help. They
honestly,
need food in the house.
not to compare at all, but their kids are also a victim.
They are. We're not comparing, but they are. 100%.
It is a victim.
And we need to accept that as
Thanks
a
for the
reality.
like.
Now, then comes the issue of protecting or helping or defending the abuser. So that really goes into different categories. Okay. From a halachic debate, it's not a discussion. The halacha is very clear. Okay. Person's a din rodef. Hashkafically,
But what if they're not deemed a din rodef anymore? Like what if they're
dead?
not dead, but
So how are they not deemed a din rodef? They're never going to abuse again? Because you know what? I have people that have told me over the years, we get a case. 5 years ago, the Rav knew about it. And he said he's getting the person help. And now it's coming to us 5 years later, the person has more victims.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that got cured magically, and jail does not cure people either. I want to make that very clear. Okay.
Yep.
One of two things.
just someone might answer you and say, let's not.
So give me another option.
Maybe okay, listen, obviously it's not
No,
realistic.
so give me an option. I'm open-minded.
No, but that's
jail is no good. So what do you want to do?
no, but we can't change it's the law of the land. These people deserve to be.
While this person's in jail, are they hurting anybody else?
Nope.
I can't imagine they'd be able to.
Okay. So one thing we know for sure.
They're not hurting people.
Even a guy that takes a plea for 2 years, right? Which most of these cases will get lower pleas if they plead right away because the courts don't like to put victims on trial.
Okay.
So for 2 years, at the very least for 2 years, this person is not going to hurt anybody, right?
But they're going to come out and they're not going to be fixed.
They're going to come out. No matter where they live, people will know they went to jail for abusing. So people will be more careful about their own families, their own children. So you've already created multiple barriers of keeping the community safe, right? See, people will tell you jail.
Because then I wasn't passionate about it because I'm sure they had schon issues. Wie einer hat angekalt und sagen, nein, darfst nicht gehen in jail, das darf ich pushen for jail.
As a punishment is not a frum thing. The Torah doesn't believe in punishment. So let's even assume that's true, right? But jail as a method of keeping people safe. So two things are accomplishing, right? Number one, while they're in jail, they're not hurting anybody. Number two, when they're out of jail, people know about it. Now, let's break that down. The hope is also somebody that came out of jail for doing it. You might not have cured them, but they're not going to do it again. Now, they're not cured, but they're also not wanting to go back to jail. So, in other words, we're defining the illness is still there. Maybe they'll go for offender treatment, which people do, right? Maybe they'll do what they need to do to get themselves.
Das ist auch eine Sache, wo ich verstehe nicht, wo man macht nicht etwas ein Programm, wie Menschen, wo es vielen haben, die willen tun, die certain Sachen, a prevention program.
Help. And by the way, people that abuse.
Ze do Brooklyn, ze do a heimische registry program. I think schon ist the website.
People that want to abuse should reach out to get help also. Meaning there is help available if they want it. The problem that I have is most of these circumstances, when the do-gooders and the askanim are going to quote unquote help, there's no help being provided. Some guy molested kids. They knew about it. Moves to another community. They call back the first community. The Rav says, listen, I got him help. He went to therapy. He's good. You know, we have the pedophile exchange program, right? From one community to another, right? Because nobody knows. And then the person abuses again. I can't believe it. Well, what can't you believe? What did you think? You covered up for this person, moved them to another neighborhood, and now magically they're going to stop abusing?
Honestly, you say the same about financial crimes.
1 second. And a person who commits a financial crime is a right also. I'm not going to argue that.
Yeah.
Our community has the number one. I mean, you have this whole thing that you're dealing with people in Parnassa and money. But let me tell you something. Percentage-wise, most issues that the Frum community has were better off than the rest of the world, except for Ponzi schemes.
Really?
Yeah, because Ponzi schemes, nobody goes to jail because it's Mesira. So if nobody goes to jail, people might do it again. Nebuch, the guy has a family, all the Nebuchs, right? Again, I'm not saying, let me make this very clear. I'm not trying to advocate jail. I want to advocate, don't do the crime, don't abuse people, don't steal money. That's the answer, prevention, right? But if you're going to do it and you're not going to have any repercussions, then you will do it again. So that repercussions has to come from somewhere.
Again, it's like almost one of those things I discussed with Chalber is like letters being written on behalf of a perpetrator. And let's say there's someone who sat for a long time. I know without getting into details, there's a case now, someone who sat for a very long time, and there have been Rabbanim writing letters on his behalf. There's also a Rav that withdraw his letter.
Right. So I'll give you my 2 cents on that. Okay. First of all, if Ruvain steals money from Shimon and Ruvain is getting sentenced and Levi writes a letter on behalf of Ruvain when Ruvain's going to court, Shimon may not necessarily get upset about the letter. He'll be upset that money was stolen. But somebody else that lost money from a different person certainly won't be upset. Victims of abuse, because we're still living in a society where victims aren't believed. I mean, listen, what's a victim referred to in court? An accuser. Even when we're talking about a victim, they're an accuser. We don't even believe them. They're accusing somebody, right? I mean, that's a bad terminology.
Well, innocent until proven guilty. So
again, but we're still, but the suffrage is going.
And the person who is a defendant.
Right. Yeah. But the point is that when a victim sees that somebody's writing a letter for somebody else, even if they weren't abused by that person, it does hurt. Now, that's number one. So keep that in mind. Now, There are people that are going to say to me, but I want to write a letter anyway, right? I can't stop people from doing it, but there's writing a letter and writing a letter. The main reason why I was so upset, literally, I didn't sleep. Like my wife actually said to me, all of a sudden you're like, I couldn't go to sleep. Like I couldn't even try. I was so angry, was because the letter did not even address the guilt. This is a person who's never admitted to what he did, never owned it, never apologized, even la halacha, never did any of the methods of tshuva, right? Number one. And the letter did not even address the pain, suffering, and support of the victim or any victims. So even if somebody is going to write a letter, which I'm not a fan of, but people will do it. A loved one, a sibling, a family member, I get it, they'll do it. I do find it ironic that they have this new program now. It's similar to chickens for KFC. We call it pedophiles for peace.
Brooklyn. Vergessen alles zu nennen.
Because when there's machlokes by certain groups that are in court over Yerusha, but they manage to get together to sign a letter, right? All of a sudden, now they're shalom, right? So it's beautiful,
right.
Okay? Yes, sarcasm, just in case you were wondering. But my point is, people are going to write the letter. So first of all, when you write the letter, no, it's always going to get public. Somebody will find out. So don't come back with excuses. And by the way, I wrote a whole article about this 5 months ago, about something from a previous time that happened. And a Rav then got up and made a public video apologizing and, did it. Again, now, like you would think people learn. But that's not the point. The point is there was no acknowledgement of guilt, no acknowledgement. We condemn the
OU guy hat zurückgezogen und gleich das Video sagen, als man nicht gehirig mass begewende Story, in dem hat retracted.
Nature of the crime.
Huh?
That was the term that was used. Not John did something horrendous. We understand he was bad. He's been punished. And we feel so bad for everything that, the victim went through and what the family went through. Nothing. That to me, that was even worse than the letter.
Yeah.
Can you meet with these people and discuss that with them and point out what this potentially can do for future, or not even future, present victims that are not going to speak out of what happened to them because
that's why they do it.
They don't want them to speak out.
Part of the whole thing is we don't air our dirty laundry in public.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know everyone who signed this letter. I really don't. But is it fair to say that none of those people care about?
So first of all, you have to understand. Number one is they have to want to first believe that it's true, right? Let's just understand that it can happen by everybody, not by me, right? So every time somebody makes an accusation in sexual abuse, they always find 27,000 reasons why the victim is lying and how the perpetrator is a tzaddik. Always. Consistent. It's 100% consistency. Okay? That's just the way it is. And once you say someone's a tzaddik long enough, lie enough, it becomes true, right? So that's what it is, right? This person's a tzaddik, this person's Yosef at tzaddik, they're in jail learning and davening. Seriously? But then you start believing it.
Yeah.
Then you also have the hashkafic side. A Jew doesn't go to jail. Jew doesn't belong in jail no matter what. We don't care. A Jew doesn't belong in jail. So to that, I've always said,
Ich bin sicher, dass gehabt schon huge arguments mit Rabbunim wegen dem.
Just give me another solution. Like, tell me something that could work. Keep people safe. Nobody will tell you they want kids to be molested. They'll never say that. But if the choice is throw the victim to the curb or the abuser, where the abuser has a family and kids to marry off, then they always choose the abuser. And that's what we need to stop.
Ooh.
Can I ask you a crazy question?
Even
we talk about obviously the amount of victims that there are, right? Let's say talk about abuse, which means that there are either an equal amount of perpetrators of those crimes abusing, or there's fewer people but abusing a lot more people. Correct?
So again, statistically, the non-familial abuser will have abused over 100 victims before they get caught.
So let me ask you this: statistically,
heavy.
There's on average an episode of ours will get around 75 to 120,000 downloads and views. Statistically, someone watching or listening to this episode, forget about having been abused, we can get there, but will be someone who abused.
So
what would you say to that person that is not caught?
Reach out to somebody for help. Get help.
Deze de zaak. Wie help? Deze was me gemein als me darf erledigen.
Now, before you end up in a situation where you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. I mean, I have something
You wouldn't tell them to turn themselves into the law. You wouldn't like...
Again!
Verwusste nicht, darf einfach eine Samine Organisation. Wen darf ich gedenkt sein wegen dem?
People aren't going to get help.
The question.
I realize the question.
I never asked that to anybody.
So let me put it to you this way, right? Let me paint the picture differently. John, right? We're not going to say Ruvain, we'll say John, right? So everybody will be fine.
John, the guy. Easier.
John commits a crime, right? Abused somebody, or started off with child porn, or started off by forcible touching, even if it was somebody that they worked with, meaning they started with something, right? And you find out about it, right? And John is 20 years old, and you decide, as the askin or whatever, that or the Rav, or the Shiva, or the Rabbi, you're going to get him help, right? So John goes for help, whatever that means. John gets married, and of course, you don't tell John's wife what John did because he was 20 years old,
right?
Because
he's better now.
Right, he's better now. And now John is married with 3 kids and does it again. By not getting him help 5 years ago, you destroyed not just him, his wife, and his kids. That's all on the do-gooders. You see, everybody's so busy worried about, well, what's going to be? Well, if you don't do something, it's always going to be worse. Either it's going to be worse because there will be more victims, and every victim you have, the blood is on your hands, and you're a murderer. Anyone who covers up abuse is a murderer because they are killing other people. Not just the one, but everybody future. So you're a murderer. Or you murdered their entire family because you didn't get somebody to help when they could have. So my message is...
What is about the help? Dort the lack.
If somebody feels that they will abuse or they did abuse, get yourself help.
Well, how do they do that practically? They can't just call someone and say, hey.
Everybody knows someone they can call.
Can they call Amudim?
I mean, they can call Amudim if it's anonymous. I mean, obviously, we have to follow the laws. But people know, if people want to get help and they're scared of the repercussions, I promise you, they will find a way to get help. I promise.
Honestly, they promise. I don't like this promise.
Miss you. Go to another country with it, whatever. It doesn't matter. If somebody really wants help, they will find it. And
what is the help?
Maybe if somebody finds it and somehow through them finding it, they end up in trouble. I will tell you a little secret. I highly doubt a court would put somebody in jail. They might arrest. They might have a conviction who actually went in on their own to try to get help. And that's how they got caught. I'm not talking about a guy that molested 100 people.
I know, but it's.
Ich red noch von the mensen noch far het ever getting anything. How does he get help?
Trial by media.
Again, I'm not saying, so I understand the difficulty, right? But let me ask you the question. If somebody reaches out and finds a way to get help today, right? They find a way to get help. There might be repercussions A and B. But if they don't, and they continue down that path, at some point they will be caught. The repercussions then will be far worse. So again, people need to look at it from a realistic standpoint. Again, I'm not saying jail. People say, oh, everyone belongs, doesn't belong in jail, do belong, don't belong. We can always debate 100 ways from Tuesday. Most of these cases, first of all, you're talking about a miyut shabamiyut of cases because less than 15 cases of abuse ever even get reported. Of those, I think less than 10% ever even get to an arrest. Of the ones that get to an arrest, more than half don't even make it to a trial.
What you're saying is forget all that. You need help because you will do it again.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
But I'm saying something differently. Everybody that's so busy focused on the jail, nobody can count on two hands how many people they know that are in jail for this.
And if you do, you need new friends. Yeah.
Well, again, but the point is, everybody that gets arrested for this, without fail, is offered a plea right away.
Right.
And the only way people get big sentences is that they don't take a plea. That's number one. Especially if it's a child victim that has to go on the stand. The courts don't want to see children testifying and reliving their horrors and being re-victimized for days in a row. Okay? So that's number one. So people get pleas. They get 2 years, 3 years. What? You go to trial, you can take a risk. And the longer you play the game, because remember, it's a gamble. Most people know in the frum world, if you do get arrested, they're going to put enough pressure on the victim and the victim's family that they'll never testify anyway. But that's a gamble, right? And then all of a sudden, somebody finds himself on trial, and now they get 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, whatever it is, 100 years, doesn't matter. Oh, look what happened. You played the odds.
And for the people watching who are the ones who've been abused, and statistically, them too, probably have not reached out to anybody.
That is correct. So for that, we say people should reach out.
It's daunting.
It is daunting, and it's a very, very scary call to make. It is not easy to ask for help. Even in today's day and age, when things are spoken about as openly as they are, people do not want to say the words, I was abused. On many
why
levels.
is that?
But I can just say there is help available. Help is available. Reach out. If you have a local mental health agency near where you live, if you have a good relationship with a local clinician, call Amudim, call any organization, just get help. This is about people need to get help. They need to lead healthy, productive lives. And it's possible. I want to tell you, people do very well. Some people might have to be in therapy for a long time. Some people not. But at the end of the day,
you can live a good life.
You can live a good life.
That's all we want.
That's it. That's all anybody wants.
That's what it's all about. We want people to be healthy.
Right.
Listen, I know you have a campaign going on now. I hope it's successful. I really do. Like, it sounds like I would love for that fund to come back.
So we would love for that fund to come back too. I will say the campaign is...
Innocent people don't take pleas. Also wie gesagt, gemeint hast, man geht pressuren the victim in the Arbeitsgeschoss.
Coming up soon. Yeah, Yami Shachter, by the way, is a rock star.
He was a man.
By the way, even this campaign, I want you to know, people go crazy on me, right? Because the campaign is Unite to Heal, right? That's what we call it. And if you look at the campaign, right? So I don't know if you got a chance to hear about it, but we have like all these different segments, and
like
you were part of it already in the past, and get you back involved again. But a good portion of our segments are for awareness. In other words,
it's content.
It's not just
fundraising.
The now Jewish nanny being interviewed with Elon Gold, right? That's going to be fun, right? It's not just having, so many amazing, whether it's musicians, whether it's talent, whether it's comedians. I mean, there's a lot. By the way, this year's lineup, I just want you to know, off the charts. I can tell you that straight up, off the charts. But even in that, it's about helping people. Yeah, we want to raise money and we need to raise money, but it's about helping people. And that's really what it boils down to. 36 hours, 36 segments, December 7th and 8th of 2025. Because you see, this gets watched. Well, by the way, people are still commenting on my interview with you from years ago.
Oh, really?
I want you to know.
Well, this is going to be fun. I think you're going to get a few more comments now.
Whatever, we'll see.
You didn't know fun that stops.
Listen, we're here to talk.
Money stopped. People are having hard times.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining.
Just one thing before I get on with the rest of this outro.
Okay. Interesting. Ich weiß, dass hat eine Sache hate. In real life, people don't like him. Ich get all types of Sachen von ihm. Ich wollte gewollt wissen, wie ein Mensch, wo es geht abusen. Where does somebody pick up help? Was heißt help? I think he didn't discuss that. Yeah. All right. Sadly says arrest me if I lean on the daf. I've enjoyed this. Nicht echt stark geredet von der Organisation, wo the organization did, but he was presenting his case. All right, Gevra. Sie kommen der Zeit. I gotta say goodbye. I'm going to schlafen. Ich habe morgen gig in the free. Not sure if I'll be able to do a live tomorrow morning. We'll have to see. We'll get my score for you. We still going for a lange Zeit, a kurze Zeit. Viele Dösen begonnen sind auf andere Tab gemacht mit YouTube an der Tab. Aber du mich mein dir. Thank you. We'll get my score for alle likers, shares, commenters, subscribers, especially members. This is what keeps the channel going. This is what keeps the channel going. We'll get my special thanks for Tamid Besimcha, for den Schicken a Super Chat. En ook het voor Simcha Weiss, for den Schicken a Super Chat. This is what keeps the channel rolling. Housekeeping. Not sure if I'll be able to go live tomorrow morning. Well, I got a gig. Don't know if I'll be home that time. So, don't know that. If not, I will see you mañana, banacht, 7 o'clock, if I don't see you in the morning. Thank you all for being here. I really do appreciate it. Die wil schicken etwas voor de unboxing. Ik heb gepind the address in the chat. So, it is next week Montag, around 10 o'clock in the morning. Heads on the unboxing if anything gets there. Alrighty, Chevra. It has been a pleasure. Thank you all for being here. And until next time, stay kind to one another. Peace.